Unfortunately, that's one of the unfortunate things that I've seen. You've got kids that are going to the restroom, they'll walk in there and they'll see 8 kids in there doing something they shouldn't be doing, and for the most part, the smart thing to do is go ahead and walk away, leave it and go to another bathroom and report it to something. We got, you know, the big word around here is snitching. They don't want to snitch on their friends, and unfortunately I hate that word because it sets an environment that kids don't feel safe. Kids feel like they can't. I can promise you, I'm the Crime Stopper coordinator here at Plano West and for the district, and I can promise you that every person that is quote-unquote snitched on somebody, the person that's been contacted or arrested never knows who the person that reported it is. So they're going to have to let us know. We have situations here where kids know what's going on. These kids are not stupid. They know what's going on at any of these schools here in Plano, for that matter, any school district. And I think they're just afraid. If there's a safe place that somebody could come and share with a counselor, with a principal, with your SRO, you know, shut the door. We get kids coming in here talking about everything from their prom date to serious, you know, family issues at home. So, being that someone comes in my office doesn't, there's not any suspicion that someone's in here doing something or telling me something that's going on illegal. But the best advice I can do or say is just stay away from it. It's so dangerous. If you're in possession of it, if you take a hit, here's another thing I failed to mention. We get kids that are selling hits. Hit is what they call, you know, you're taking a hit off one of this, it's like a puff off one of this. We get kids that are selling it, so a lot of these kids aren't even bringing this. They're either bringing their own cartridge and hooking it up with somebody else's battery pack, or they're just bringing $5. Usually it's about $5 a hit. You pay me $5, you can get a hit or 2 hits off my vape pen, and they're doing it that way. So I guess to answer your question, it's tough to be strong. You hang around kids that aren't doing this thing. There's more kids that aren't doing this than there are doing it. It just seems the opposite sometimes. It seems like everybody's doing it, and I know that's not the case. But you got a bunch of good kids that are trying to do the right thing. I've had kids come in my office and asking me, Officer Scott, can you please do something about the kids that are vaping or that are smoking in our class? And this is something that the teachers probably aren't seeing. They're probably in the back and just doing a quick puff on it, and they're passing it around even in class. So it is a problem. It is a fairly new problem in the schools. This is not that old of a technology that we're facing. But you got to reach out and tell somebody. The only way we can do something about it is to get this thing stopped by calling these kids out. Whether it's and I'm not an advocate of I'm not here on campus to take kids to jail. I'm here to educate and get these kids successfully out of high school. But unfortunately, there's certain kids that are going to take the risk, and they're not going to heed the warnings and the advice that we give them, and a lot of these kids end up going to jail and getting kicked out of the school or going to a jail school or special programs or something like that. But unless we know that this problem is going on and who's actually doing it, we're kind of handcuffed in trying to get this thing taken care of and alleviated.
Well, thank you, Officer Scott. You've
Absolutely.
done a great job, and man, thank you for helping keeping our schools safe.
No, my pleasure, man. Thanks for coming here, Coach.
All right. All right.
I think I've pretty much hit all the jewels, but this is the packaging. It's very simple, but I want parents to understand when they see devices like this, that this is what we're dealing with. This is only going to be designed to charge an e-cigarette. So keep an eye on these things. Now next, what's starting to hit, unfortunately, pretty rampantly, is people have heard of dab pens or vape pens, and these are some examples of vape pens. And I'll tell you the difference here in just a second. Vape pens are usually consist of a battery. So here's your battery. So like the Juul cigarette, here's your battery that's charged. On a vape pen, this is your battery and your charger. There's some other items in here I won't get into that cause the reaction to turn it into vape, but just kind of give you an idea. And this is what's called a cartridge. You'll hear a lot of slang words. They're going to call it a carty. This is what they're talking about, a cartridge. Your liquid THC. And let me get one that has some in here. There's your liquid. Actually, this particular one is CBD oil. I won't get into that right now. Similar looking to THC. It's the liquid form of marijuana. So what they're doing is they usually will keep these separate. There's a button to push, and then that's what they smoke from this. Here's an example of one of the chargers. A couple of different chargers. If you see something like that, that's a charger. And here's another one.
They have gotten so sophisticated on how they disguise these devices.
Yes, they have. Here's an example of the packaging that this cartridge came in. It's a vape cartridge. And we have different ones. This is a indica. There's two different types of, it's an indica and sativa. I won't get into that right now, but sativa is more of a THC that calms you down and mellows you out like a typical, 60s flower child, just kind of mellowing out. And you have the indica that does a reverse type of thing. But it says it on here, indica. It's a vape cartridge. This is called King Louis the 13th. This is 1,000 milligrams. And this is just an example. And here you go. It's premium THC distillate. So, places like Colorado, California, the delivery mechanisms of people visiting these states and bringing them back in huge volumes. This is a huge money-making venture for these people that are bringing these in. So the difference between a dab pen, you'll hear dab pen used a lot. Dab and vape are a little bit different. It's the same principle. You're smoking a vaporized form of THC. But a dab pen, I don't have any examples of a dab pen here, but the liquid wax, if you heard the term wax, it's a process where the THC is dab a piece of that wax into a coil on one of these. It looks pretty much the same, but into a little coil. It's a heating coil, and then they'll put the mouthpiece on, and then they'll push the button, and the coils will heat, and it'll vaporize that wax. We're not seeing. I haven't seen. In fact, I haven't seen any actual dab pens. Also, pretty much what we're getting are vape pens, which I've showed you here, and that's the liquid that is heated up inside, and which turns into vape, and then they smoke it out of here. But this is any amount of liquid THC, any amount whatsoever, is a felony offense. On a school drug-free zone, it enhances it one offense level. So if a person would have been in possession of this, this would be a third-degree felony. It's a state jail felony. Since it's on school property, it enhances it to a third-degree felony, which is serious. You get some of these young kids that are turning 17, getting excited to go try some of this stuff, and at 17 years old, they already have a felony charge on their adult record.
So, Officer Scott, explain how serious that felony charge is.
I can't even explain how serious it is. It's that serious. A lot of these kids, I mean, you're going to go to jail. You're going to have to go through a process. You're going to get an attorney. You're going to be, until you post a bond, you're not going to get out of jail until you post a bond. You go try to get a job when you get out of high school, and it says, have you ever been convicted of a felony offense? Well, if you get convicted of this, then you're going to have to answer yes, you've been convicted of a felony. It's huge, especially if you get students that are wanting to get into law enforcement, federal government, anything like that, where background checks are very important to the hiring process. It's probably going to disqualify them from any kind of satisfying or job that they would want to have down in a few years after they get. Sometimes it'll affect your college enrollment too. I mean, there's a plethora of situations that you're putting yourself in that I don't think that these kids this age really understand or really think what they're doing. But as far as parents or teachers or even other students that are exposed to this stuff, I mean, a lot of the times it's in a bathroom. These kids are all congregate in the bathroom. They'll get on their phones, set up a meeting time, and third period at 10 minutes after the hour, you'll get 4, 5, 6 different kids out of different classes that are meeting up in a bathroom to do this.
Wow.
So in different forms too. There's for the most part they're the same. This was the one that I had recently that was a kind of a unique deal, and This one here, it's a magnetic, kind of just slides in here, and here's your battery, and it's very concealable. I mean, you put that in your hand and you're not going to see it. And again, when you smoke the THC, the liquid form of the THC is a psychoactive ingredient of marijuana. It's the ingredient that gets you high. In a liquid form, it doesn't smell like what marijuana would smell like. So you can smoke this in a public area, and a lot of people won't even know that it's marijuana that they're smoking. So